Stand-up historian. Those who tell stories rule society.
Hello and welcome to Stand Up Historian. My name is Kurosh and I bring this show to you from beautiful Seattle, Washington. Welcome to my home. I have decided to record this episode of Stand Up Historian from my living room. In this episode, I wanted to discuss something very important that we see in the story of Genesis, creation of the world according to the scriptures. And also we know in every mythology, every nation, every culture have their own story of creation. But what I'm going to discuss tonight and probably walk through with you guys and look at it and try to figure out what it says is from the Bible. I have three versions of Bible here tonight, so we're sure that we cover all of them. I have Gideon version, I have New International Version, and I also have King James Version, which is my favorite in terms of literature and the way the translation from Hebrew and Greek been done into English. So let's start by just going to the book and see how it starts and what is it talking about when we say creation. As you know, this has a Jewish origin because it's part of the Old Testament according to Christian terminology, but for Jews this is Torah, and the first chapter or the first book is called Bereshit, which means in the beginning, or creation, or Genesis. So chapter 1 starts with something like this. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void. And darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So obviously we can see there was waters prior to this because it says there was waters. There was darkness because darkness was upon the face of the deep. And also it's talking about the Spirit of God. When we talk about the Spirit of God, we can automatically assume that there is physical form of God and the Spirit of God. Is that why it says it? Otherwise, if it's just one attribute, why would it say Spirit of God? Let's continue. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. So this part was my challenge to understand it. Didn't God knew that light is good? And there was darkness, and he said, "Let there be light." Sometimes I feel like you're in this dark room and all the windows are covered. As a person, you enter into this room, all you see is darkness. It seems like this spirit, according to the Holy Bible, this spirit enters and only sees darkness. Wasn't he aware of light? And then he said, "Let there be light," and there was light. I've been imagining it like this. Help me figure this out. If there is a group of people standing shoulder to shoulder and there is a light behind them, but they block the light, you only see a very thick shadow on the ground. If someone is standing in front of those people, that person only sees this shadow. And now that the person that's in the darkness of the shadow tell these people, "Let there be light." And all they do is they move just a little bit from each other, and the light the source of light behind them actually starts shining, and there is light. And once there is light, all these figures that create their own shadows form on the other side for the person that is looking at it. So I was thinking about this part, and there are different interpretations in traditional Judaism, in Christianity, in modern Judaism. And when you go over all of these things, the question is why there is a modern and there is an ancient translation and interpretation of these verses. This was just first two verses of chapter 1 of book 1, which is Genesis. Is it the understanding of people matured, or we achieved technological advances and we started to interpreting what's in the book based on our understanding and forgot the reality of what this thing could be outside of any new understanding we have from the world, which we'll see in other chapters. So that's my number one concern here, and I want to know what Genesis says. Before I go any further, let me put you in a situation. An alien lands in Seattle, and he looks at me and says, "Hey, you are one of the species live here?" "Yes, we consider ourselves the smartest here." "Yes." "Hey, I have been seeking the Creator all over the universe, and I ended up here. I want to see if you guys have any answer for that." And I pull up my book and say, "Yes, all the answers are in this book. You can find them here." And he said, "Wow, interesting. Walk me through." And I open Genesis, and I want to tell him that, okay, this is the story of creation. This is how everything was created. And that alien, I use the example of alien because it's someone who has absolutely zero background or knowledge of this book and what's in it. There is no presumption about anything. That's why I'm using that metaphor. So, and I start reading, and obviously these questions will come up. What is my answer? I have to tell them that, oh, you know what? We have been discussing these things for several thousand years, and we're still not sure about some of the things. Light, darkness, creation, Spirit of God, water existed. So the book doesn't say that God also created water. It says the Spirit of God was hovering, in other versions, over the waters. So what was going on? What is this? What is this Creator? What is this God? Obviously, some things existed before this Creator. And it takes us probably to Gnosticism and Gnostics' story of creation. Let me continue just a little bit further. And God saw the light that was good, and God divided the light from the darkness, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So you see what happened? There's earth, light, which existence of light creates day and night. This is the moment time and space is born. This is the moment of, you want to call it whatever you want to call it, Big Bang. There's time and there's a space, and I dare to say the prison is ready. The prison of space, time, everything in this space, time will be bound to time and space. So this is the moment that an supposedly infinite, unbound, timeless, forever God creates something time-bound and space-bound and limited with many boundaries and many restrictions. And if you think about it, what happens is time and space limitations and being time-bound creates competition, because it requires limited resources, limited everything. and everything that exists will be disappeared. So there is a limited time and there is competition. Competition could lead to cruelty, to wars, to a fragile, if ever we could call it, peace, and so many other issues that we're facing on today's world and humanity, which has been around forever. The difference is, even when you look at ancient interpretation of this book, it feels like people understood it, accepted, and admitted their situation, and they had a better relationship with their environment and the nature, so they could live better. They were content. As we started to advance technologically and go through different so-called industrial revolutions and other enlightenment, renaissance, and all that, we started to ask for more. We're not content anymore. And that understanding brought us to the point that, okay, there's limited resources. My group, my nation, my tribe needs to own more because we want to live better. And that has been the source of many, many disasters on this planet. Not to mention that the nature itself has disasters that wipes off civilizations, cities, and countries being destroyed over the course of history of Earth. So this is the moment of creation of time and space and creation of this environment, this controlled environment. It is a controlled environment that we live in it. And that is the next part that we need to be able to answer. Of course, when you ask someone that, okay, what do you think God meant? He saw the light and it was good. What do you mean? He didn't know God that light is good? We are talking about the omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God, merciful, compassionate, all love. And then how could you create something limited and you know this is going to be intrinsically evil from within? And that's the moment you start questioning the intention of this God who created the earth. And then he creates the light and separates it from the darkness. He calls it day. At that point, it says, okay, it's day one. So our counting days becomes a little bit questionable. Okay, where did the day one? As soon as you created time, then the concept of day comes in, and you have day one and day two. So, and the book continues, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. So firmament in ancient Hebrew, the word that was used here and translated to firmament, it means a dome. So it seems like imagine the flat earth picture with a dome over this flat earth, and there are waters under this, which is in the world, and there are waters above that and separated. My biggest question here was, from the very beginning of this book, was waters. It seems like waters always existed and God came and separated these two. But there are different interpretations. Obviously, for Judaism, been around for thousands of years. So there was a lot of time for different rabbis and different groups to interpret all these verses and come up with different explanations to explain to people that, yes, there is a God who created it. If you see this, sometimes it's just figuratively, sometimes it's literally, and you can't take everything at its face value. You need someone to interpret that, and it actually led to creation of the cleric class, and eventually you see it gets to a point that something like Catholic Church says you can't go to heaven unless you believe in church and interpretation of the book. They wouldn't even let the book, the Bible, be translated to any other language but Latin. So holding back this book was because of these are my interpretation. These are not based on anybody's ideas, opinions, thoughts. No, these are my interpretations, and I'm trying to convey my message to you and get your input. And in comments, you tell me what you think. And the biggest mystery has been, we're always looking for a mystery. What is the mystery of creation? Who created? And then say, okay, it's all in here. And once you start reading it and questioning that, it's not acceptable, at least for a human being in our time. It has never been easily accepted by humans thousands of years ago. And please erase this misconception that people in the past were stupid. We are smarter than them because we know how to use a phone. No, they knew a lot more without any devices and tools that we have today. So same sort of questions that I am proposing tonight was asked by many people in the past. Some walked away from religion, some accepted the interpretations of their rabbis, their priests, and their imams, because all three major religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they deal with these questions and they try to answer these questions. And each one has their own interpretation. But the biggest problem is there is a threat of going to hell if you don't believe in the book. There is a threat of being ostracized if you don't believe in that, and if you want reason. I also have to add that questioning does not mean that you're rejecting this idea. The idea of creator is obviously very real. We see it everywhere. I don't want to conclude that, okay, what's in this book is questionable, therefore there is no God, therefore I'm atheist. No, there is no such a thing as self-created, self-promoted, evolved environment that creates humans at our level with degree of intelligence. So that completely, in my opinion, is idiotic to think about something just existed and random events put it in this point. That's a conversation for some other time. Okay, I'm going to stop here and leave you with these few verses. I'll continue in the next episode of this because there is a lot of questions to ask. We just talk about firmament, water, what is this dome? And then some say it's figuratively, some say no, it's literally, there is a dome over the earth. And just one more thing, so you know, in Judaism, the earth is the center of universe. It's a geocentric belief. Maybe it doesn't matter, it depends on your vantage point, your point of view to say, is it the sun or it's the earth? We'll get to all of that. I wanted to leave you with these what we discussed, and hopefully you can find your own questions, answers, and before going and looking to see what others have said, let's see if you can answer those questions. And the questions are, what was darkness? Was it darkness to everything that existed? And when he said, let there be light, where did light come from? Is it the example that I mentioned, people standing next to each other, they just moved away and light existed and just came in? Where was the source of light? Where the light came from? And then who was this God that his spirit, there must be a form as well to it. And just to tease you for the next episode, he talks about creating man in his own image. Where did he see his own image? Did he have a form? Because if you have an image, you have a form. We'll get to that in our next episode. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And as always, please feel free to visit my website at standuphistorian.com. Send me your questions. Love to hear from you. Take care. Bye-bye.